So now I'm going to come back to these berries. And as I said, I've put on a little bit of shading, some dark red and some bright red. If I now take a cadmium orange, I'm only going to do a couple here. And I've also marked in where I want my light areas to be. So what you must remember to do, though, is to go over all of what you've already coloured. You don't just start near it. You want this orange to go over the reds, because then it incorporates them into the shading of this colour. So we'll put that around there. So, and this is where you do, when you're doing a proper piece of work, you do the tiniest little circles so that you get the pigment into all of the tooth of the paper without having to use a lot of pressure. Pressure is a weird one because, of course, you've got your own pressure. Everyone is going to be slightly different. So I always say that try and think of your pressure, the way, you know, how much you're putting onto the paper with the pencil. Try and imagine a gauge of 1 being where you literally can't feel the pencil and the paper touching almost. And then at the other end of the scale of, say, 10, you would press so hard that you would actually break your pencil. So most of the pressure that I would use is no more than a 3 or a 4. But because you're doing these tiny circular movements, you actually get lots and lots of colour down just without pressing. And I'm just going to put in a tiny little bit of shine just there, like that. And then I'm going to go back to a little bit of the brighter red just in some areas, just to bring that in. You can, as I say, you can put some dark over light now and again when you need it, but normally you do it all first. But because I wasn't finishing these off when I started them this afternoon for you, I could have just maybe done that a little bit better. And then if I take now a cadmium orange and then just go over all of what I've done with the cadmium, and then bring that up to our lovely shine here, and get softer as you get towards the little bit that your paper that you're going to leave white. And you can see then you've got a really lovely shiny berry. Right, so these are those red currants that I mentioned that I thought were unbelievable. I was so thrilled with them. I thought they were amazing, but actually they were not. And I redid them the following year. And so let me show you the next one. So this is, there we go. Now you see the difference. I'm sure you can. They are more lively, they're more vibrant, they are more translucent. Everything about them was absolutely so much better. So I did those, and black currants and gooseberries and strawberries, raspberries, blackberries, blueberries, all homegrown, please, all homegrown, which is why I do have to explain this sometimes. If you've never seen a blueberry growing, how wonderfully bright blue they are until you pick them, and then that's when they oxidize and go black. But there we go. So that's I put those into the RHS, and I won a silver gilt, which is one below the gold. So I wasn't happy, of course, because I wanted a gold. So the following year, I set about drawing top fruit. So all the ones that you've just seen are called soft fruit. Top fruit is something that grows on a tree. I did apple, and I decided, some of these are homegrown, some I had to find. You had to put in 8 when I got my gold medals. I think it's less now. But I started them in the summer and then realized that I wanted the blossom. So every tree that I used for my fruit, I tied a little tag to it so that I went back to the exact same tree for the blossom, because I know with the RHS that they have judges who would know full well if you've got a different type of blossom for a, you know, that type of apple. So I was just making absolutely sure that I did the right thing. So I did apple and pear. The apple was from my garden. The pear was from a friend's garden. The quince was from a friend's garden as well. I did love doing the quince. And if you look, that leaf there, I used my embossing tool because the leaves of the young quince are really deep, deep seated into the leaves. So that helped to make it show really, really well. And I also tend to pick a lot of my subjects that have already got blemishes because there is more interest. And these are the cherries. I had to search for a peach tree and also the nectarine tree. But I did find them up in the wilds of Norfolk, and so they too got little tags tied to them so that I went back the next year for the blossom. And these ones were really very new trees, as you can see, but they had super shiny leaves. I thought they were really lovely. But the best bit for me was actually drawing the kernel in the half fruit. I really thought they were lovely. And these are the plums that I did. The colour hasn't scanned very well on this. They don't look quite as weird as that. The blossom, needless to say, was very hard because of the amount of stamens, but it was again good fun and a challenge. And we had damsons too.